So in this video, we're going to be talking about how do you keep yourself safe in training. Mixed martial arts, a sport which I do, which is comprised of Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling, and other grappling and striking arts as well. They're all potentially dangerous, and so injury, in a sense, can be unavoidable. However, you can reduce the likelihood of injuries and the likelihood of severe injuries as well. I had an injury, which is probably my worst ever injury actually, last year, but this time last year, an Achilles rupture. And that wasn't due to rolling too hard, or in this case it was Muay Thai, and so I wasn't sparring too hard. It was an awkward step and I slipped in the mat or something, whatever it was, and then my Achilles just popped. And so I've been on this rehabilitation, re-strengthening journey ever since. In the midst also getting back to the mats and training. And so these things which I'm going to be speaking about are things which I have done in light of this, and also before that as well, to help me train safely so then I can keep doing what I want to do. Because that essentially, right, your longevity is decided by how safe you train. In your 20s you can kind of have like an air of invincibility, but beyond your 30s, I'm in my mid 30s and 30s and beyond, it is definitely determined by how smart you train and how safely you train. And so if you want to keep training, you want to train wisely and safely. So how do you train safely? Well, one of the things you can do is to avoid those rounds whenever you can. Avoid those rounds. You know what I mean by those rounds? Those rounds where egos are flared, tempers may have got up a bit, the pace is in a manner in which can't really be controlled, everything's all over the place, and there's just like this grind, there's like this feel, these rules I'm talking about. Things are thrown too hard, people are thrown too hard, those kind of things. You want to avoid them whenever you can. Few and far between is even better. And to avoid them, certainly if you're injured and you want to stay safe, you definitely want to avoid them. And so one of the things you can do is to spot the repeat offenders of said rules or said rounds and just say, you know what, not today, mate. I'm not going to do that. And I had no problems with doing that with my injury. I just basically only trained with people that I knew could control themselves and wouldn't, they know I've got an injury and they have use other options against having to attack that leg. And so that's what I did. But what can you do to make yourself avoid those rounds? There are things that you can have in terms of ethos or things or mantras, if you want to call them that, to help you not get to that place where you're escalating around yourself or you're engaging when somebody's trying to escalate things. And so one of the things I did in terms of a general rule of thumb, jiu-jitsu, because to people belts matter, and so what I would do is that I wouldn't attack submissions on people who are 2 or more belts higher than me. And what that did was it lowered the need for retribution, because for the most part, if you're in a position to get a submission on somebody who's that much better than you, it's not by accident, it's because they're rolling in a way to give you a chance to work. And so to take advantage of their kindness by trying to rip their arm off unnecessarily is definitely going to lead to retribution. And so that's something I just avoided. And I've never had those kind of rules with people who are better than me. So that's just one thing I did. You can adopt that if you want. You'd probably be safer for it, but that's up to you. But that's just something I did. But anyway, so you avoid those rules when you can. Don't get into those rules which are out of control. Don't get into those sparring rounds where you're throwing heavier shots than you need to. Whatever it is, avoid those when you can, certainly when you're injured. Nextly, what you want to do is to work around injuries safely. Work around injuries safely. So that involves things like making sure your muscles are warmed up in the areas which are injured, like get that range of motion where it needs to be. Don't go in cold and that kind of stuff. If you need to, use all the supports and bandages that you can. I mean, I certainly do. That keeps me confident and when I'm going onto the mats and training and such. And so do whatever you can in those instances. Also listen to your body. If you're not feeling it, don't push yourself to that place of breaking. Don't do that. Just work around these wisely. It's very helpful to do that. And so what you also do is communicate these injuries to people, like saying, oh, if you've got a dodgy shoulder, you've got a dodgy knee, or you've got broken ankle or whatever it is, like communicate to your training partners so they know how to to train with you and not re-aggravate something or go too far or whatever it is, right? You want to be able to communicate that so they know, and so then they can help you take care of you as you train. And if you have access to helpful people like physios or doctors, whatever, take their advice. If they train with you as well, they're already in the gym, that's even better. Like, they're there with you and they're more aware of the sport you actually do, and so they can help you probably with a greater degree of awareness of your context, so they can help you more specifically. If they're there, ask them, take their advice, and incorporate that into your training, and then it'll help you keep yourself safe. Another thing you can do in terms of if you're doing a combat sport and you're sparring, have more focus on specific goals in your training, and not just like to win rounds, to tap somebody out more than they tap you out, or to land more shots than somebody is landing on you. Be specific about those things, like in terms of building technical ability. For example, you want to work on using more feints before just jabbing, right? That's a technical thing you can use in striking. Or in terms of your grappling game, there's a certain sweep you want to do, so you're focusing on getting to that position where you can do that sweep and then you can reverse. Those kind of things, working on those. And why that's important is not just because it gets your game better, it also helps you change the goalposts from winning and losing to the main goal of skill acquisition and skill sharpening and skill development. But that's what you want, and that's what's going to help you with the winning aspect anyway. And so you change the goalposts from I just need to beat this guy or whoever it is, to I look at this technique or sweep I want to work on, I'm going to focus on that. The goalposts are changed, and it goes from you're not fighting in a ring, you're actually engaging in a laboratory where you're beginning to experiment and develop your skills. So that's one way to help that as well. And also what you could do is be more purposeful with your training in the week. And so that involves things like your rehabilitation if you're injured. That involves just even your general like workout regimen that sits outside your work in the gym, which supports your work in the gym. So you can alternate days where you do strength training and cardio training, whatever else. So when it comes time to being in a combat sport situation, you're not overly exhausted or strained, or your muscles are in a vulnerable place where something's likely to get torn, that kind of thing. And so you can play about with that, and sometimes you'll go too far to know how too far is, and then you can take that on and begin to change some things up, so then you're more purposeful with workouts in the week. For me, I was doing a lot of rehab days for my Achilles outside of the times I'm going to be training. Certainly in the earlier stages as well, I wouldn't do too much calf work on days where I'm going to be in the gym. So I managed to stagger things that way. But so they're just some tips which I have I've been using the last year or so, and they have helped me to this point, and maybe they help you as well. There are obviously more things than this, but these are things which have helped me keep safe, and I know if you do these to some degree, they'll help you as well. So with that, I will leave you. Thanks for watching this video. Hope it helped you, and stay safe in the mats, keep training, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.